And then I had these 12,000 pages of data, which I collected by interviewing like a dozen employees of somebody I coached to say, what is it actually like to work for this person? And
Right.
that analysis led me to the key points in this book, that it's not pressure that corrupts. It's not power that corrupts, it's pressure. Under pressure, we act out in ways that are not always our best self. And then
Yeah.
power isolates us from the impact our behaviors under pressure are having on people and on the business.
Hi there, and welcome to the HR podcast. This is Linda Misagatas
and Cindy Manuel, and we'll be your co-hosts. After spending years working in and with HR, we thought, why not start a podcast to support the important HR community? We believe the way things have always been done isn't necessarily what's going to work in the future. So we're diving into topics that support HR and working women as they navigate the future of work. We're talking about professional growth and also how we can support each other as human beings.
We can't wait to bring you insights from HR experts, thought leaders, and inspiring women who are making a real difference in their organization and communities. They'll share their journeys and tips on balancing work and life in a better way. We're excited to learn alongside you and hope you'll pick up some great takeaways, from tips and tricks to worksheets that you can actually use in your daily life. So grab your favorite beverage
or lace up your walking shoes and join us for the HR Her Resources podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Her Resources podcast. I'm excited to be back in the studio with my co-host Cindy Manuel. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Linda?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's summer is here in full force, which is a weird feeling in Colorado for it to be so hot. So I complained about the cold for a while, but now I'll take the cold and be done with this hot. So
yeah, we had one day where it was like 30 degrees cooler.
It's Colorado weather, right? I know.
Crazy.
Just so crazy. It really was. Yeah, we had to actually turn the air off because it was too cold. So it's like, go figure. But crazy times. So, well, we are excited to be in the studio today with our special guest, Sabina Nawaz. Sabina has a new book out called You're the Boss, Become the Manager You Want to Be and Others Need. And trust us when we say it's not your typical management guide. This was a really great read. Just a little background on Sabina. She's coached CEOs, worked alongside Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer at Microsoft, and has analyzed over 12,000 pages of leadership feedback. Her book takes you deep into what really gets into the way of good leadership, things like pressure, power, silence, and even our own sense of rightness, which I know I have to remember that sometimes. In today's episode, we are going to unpack how to recognize some of those early warning signs that you might be drifting from your values, why smart, well-intentioned people can become ineffective bosses, and how to build the daily habits that keep you aligned, connected, and credible as a leader. So whether you're a first-time manager or a seasoned executive, this episode will challenge you and equip you to become the manager others trust and the leader you actually want to be. So let's get started with Sabina. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to this discussion.
Yes, absolutely. We are as well. How did you come up with the title, Becoming the Manager You Want and Others Need? What made you kind of think of that title to draw people in?
What a great question. It was a very tough process. I had not realized how difficult it is to come up with a title and a subtitle. We wanted the title and the subtitle to not be something that shames people. Whenever I was in an airplane, for example, and I'd say, yeah, I'm writing a book for managers, they'd go, oh yeah, I've had that manager, that something whole, right?
Right.
And that's not my experience. When I coach people, they're perfectly wonderful human beings. Almost no manager wakes up in the morning, says, let me make life difficult for people.
Yeah.
They wake up going, I want to do a good job. And employees on the same hand also want to be seen, to be appreciated,
Right.
to have the environment where they can do good work. This boss-employee dynamic is so hard to navigate without falling into those disgruntled worker or bad boss cliches.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to frame the book positively to say, this is the aspiration. This is what you actually wake up in the morning to do. And then life happens and it gets messy. So we'll give you the tools for how you feel when you wake up in the morning and how you feel when you go to bed to be more in sync with each other.
I like that. Yeah, no, that's a really great approach to it. Well, and I mean, you've been doing this, let's say, you had 14 years at Microsoft in your career, and you developed over 11,000 managers. So, what made you decide to head into being an
Well, I've been writing for places like Harvard Business Review, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Inc. for many, many years. I think my first HBR article was in 2011. So I've always enjoyed writing as a way to scale up what I'm doing. Not everybody's going to work with a coach, or they have a particular situation that they feel stuck in. Well, here's an article that helps you with that. And so that was in my bones. And then I had these 12,000 pages of data, which I collected by interviewing like a dozen employees of somebody I coached to say, what is it actually like to work for this person? And
a
that analysis led me to the key points in this book, that it's not pressure that corrupts. I mean, it's not power that corrupts, it's pressure. Under pressure, we act out in ways that are not always our best self. And then
Yeah,
power isolates us from the impact our behaviors under pressure are having on people and on the business.
I like
So
that.
that's kind of how I came about
Yeah,
writing and wanting to do this book. It also comes from my own personal experience because there was a time I was a lousy manager at Microsoft, and I can tell you that story if you want. But
yeah.
the bottom line is that it allowed me to have a lot of empathy for managers who are struggling under tremendous pressure.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I'd love if you. Oh, go ahead, Cindy. You go ahead.
I was going to say, thank you. I was just going to say, you talk about this concept of drifting in your book too, Sabina, which I absolutely love.
Yes. So when we get into positions of authority, we have this bind. And the bind is that the higher we go, the less truth we get. And yet, we're humans. We are all unfinished products, works in progress. So how do we get feedback? Especially because our actions impact a very large set of people. They
Right.
impact the whole team, the whole organization, the entire company sometimes. How do we course correct? How do we recognize that there is even a need for course correction when everything we say sounds funnier than it is, where every idea seems like, oh, boss, that's worthy of a TED talk,
Right.
because nobody wants to tell someone in a position of power something they don't want to hear. So what do we do? The end of my book has a set of questions called 360 Yourself. So it's a set of 42 questions that you can ask yourself to sort of start to diagnose where am I? How do I deal with these different pressure pitfalls or these different power gaps?
Right.
Now, if you don't have time to address all four or answer all 42 questions, you can start with these few. Are you the only one who comes up with new ideas? Do you
That's a good one.
ever get disagreement or argument on what you propose? Do you use yeah, but as a justified stance? That
Yeah.
is, as an excuse for when you acted out in haste or anger or frustration. Those are a few early cues to know, oop, about to drift, come on back.
I
Now,
like
if
that.
you've answered yes to those things, maybe it is time to dig in and ask those other 42 questions, which are tied to these specific chapters in the book. And each chapter then has specific tools you can use. So you don't even have to read the whole book. If you start there at the back, you can just go to the chapters that you most need to work on.
I love that. I'm curious, Sabina, you'd mentioned that you felt like when you were at Microsoft, you were a bad boss. how did you come to that realization? And then how did that really kind of impact what you put in the book today? Because I'm sure that guided a lot of the principles as you were
Yeah.
thinking through this.
Yeah, yeah. So I was once a lousy manager, but it didn't always start that way. When I ran software teams that built software, most of the people on my team said I was the best boss they'd ever had. I cared about them. I genuinely coached them, nurtured them. Then everything changed. I was running Microsoft's management development for those 11,000 managers that you mentioned, Linda.
Right.
And it was my first day back from parental leave.
Okay.
I'm not even at work yet. I'm putting on lipstick for the first time in 5 months. My assistant, Lori, calls me frantic. Where are you? Steve expects you in 30 minutes. Lori starts to read me the memo I'm supposed to discuss with Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft, while I hit warp speed somewhere on the on ramp. And that set the pace and tone for my return to work.
Mm,
Full inbox, jam packed calendar, infant at home, no sleep, no peace, no patience.
yeah.
Overnight, I'm morphing from caring and compassionate to snippy and short. Short
Sure.
tempered, rushing to meet deadlines. I'm micromanaging. I don't have time to explain things in detail, let alone repeat them. You guys figure it out. Now, why didn't you figure it out? that that whole thing. And when somebody would come to my office, I would keep all 10 fingers on the keyboard, look over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm very
So you're
busy.
very
You're less
closed off.
important than
Yes.
me, right?
Yeah,
Spit it out,
absolutely.
move on.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
and the worst part is I thought I was being really efficient until my colleague Joe stops by. And here I am. Yes, Joe. And Joe goes, "Do you know that Zach is crying in his office because of what you said at that meeting?"
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was definitely an oh my gosh moment. My whole body turned hot with shame.
Oh, I'll
You know,
bet.
I could no longer make eye contact with Joe, not because I was over here on the keyboard anymore and he had my full attention, but I felt so ashamed, so guilty. I
Yeah.
thought, how did I turn from being caring and compassionate to this? Somebody people apparently are afraid of and really don't like.
Yeah. Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah. And it's not like I was a bad person. I
Right.
was a boss behaving badly under
Sure.
pressure and
Absolutely.
being unaware of the effect I was having on other people. And we all have
Right.
those bosses
Yes.
who are completely unaware of the effect they're having on others.
That's so
Of
true.
course,
That
after I
is.
apologized to Zach and we go for a walk, and when I apologize, his eyes brim with tears. And I realize in that moment of
Oh.
connection, this is what I want. I want to treat people with humanity. And that's why I've written the book. Because if managers and employees can find that connection
Yeah.
across this power gap that opens up whenever there is hierarchy, not only do you have a happier workplace, they're more productive, you have a healthier business.
I like that. I read somewhere that you have been described as a good-hearted badass. I'm curious, what do you think of that description?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea where you found that, but uh,
Yeah.
I'll
It
take
is
it. I'll take it.
absolutely. I felt it was a big compliment for sure. So,
A
oh,
good-hearted badass, huh? Okay.
yeah, I
I'll have to
loved it. I was
channel
like,
that in this
that
conversation somehow.
absolutely. No, I thought it was really good. And another one that I thought you might appreciate is that brass knuckled in a velvet glove.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I liked that
Yes.
too. Which
Yeah.
what I like about what I'm hearing you say for sure, Sabina, is that what you're not suggesting is that you need to then come across as weak or ineffective. What you're
Yes.
saying is you still are strong and effective, but you're leading with empathy. You're still thinking about the impact that you're having on the people around you. And you can be both. You can be strong and directive and do what you need to do, but you can still have that humanity and treat people with respect and care and empathy.
100%. You can be a good-hearted badass all at the
That's
same
right.
time. And this
Absolutely.
is a systemic issue in organizations right now. See, during COVID, for example, we swing this pendulum of good-hearted and badass, one extreme to the other, and we treat it as an either or instead of a both
Right.
and. So during
Yeah.
COVID, we're like, let me send meals to your home. What about yoga classes and wellness retreats and work from whenever and wherever you can?
Mm-hmm.
And that was COVID. And now it's suck it up, buttercup. AI is coming to eat your lunch. We don't
Yes.
have time. We're going to cut resources. We're scared about the financial picture. So it's the complete other end.
So
You
true.
know, when employees are treated that way, what happens? They play video games.
Very
You're going to
true.
ask me to mandate me to come back to the office and have draconian measures for it? Sure, I'll show up and I'll play video games. And research actually shows they don't just play video games, they even deliberately make mistakes just to get
Wow.
back at their boss, right? I
Wow.
mean, think about
Yeah.
that. They're willing to sabotage their own results
Yeah.
for revenge.
Wow. That's
So,
incredible.
yeah. So, how can you do both those things?
That is so
You know?
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
it's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably require some reflection. And you talk about in your book, you talk about the importance of pausing and recalibrating. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yes. Yes.
How do you
Yes.
actually do that?
Yes. So important to pause. And in fact, so important that for many of my clients, they now practice a 2 hour time block once a week. It's 2 hours back to back called blank space, where they
Oh,
go off
Sounds lovely.
and it's like the equivalent of workplace meditation.
yeah.
So they're not online, they're not
Okay.
reading, they're not talking to anybody else.
Yeah.
They're just being and they're thinking. They're thinking about the big picture, especially when you're under pressure.
Right.
One of the first things you should do is do nothing.
I
That
like
is
that.
step back and do this kind of
Yeah.
white space thinking, because then you realize all those little things that were waking me up at 3 in the morning and I was scribbling down on a sticky note are really not that important, first of all. So it gives you a sense of
Um,
perspective.
Yeah.
right.
Second, the big thing that really is worrying you, you're going, oh gosh, I'm hosed. I have no idea. I don't know how to do this. Research shows that some of our best insights come when? In the shower, when we're
Yeah.
exercising, when
Right.
we're walking the dog, when we're
Yeah.
going on a commute, when we've allowed the noise to settle down. And blank space does that. So when I'm feeling stuck and helpless and scared or panicky, having that blank space helps you recognize, oh, I have the answers. They were hiding in plain sight. There's just so much noise and so much flurry of activity that it had gotten buried.
At the Delta Principle, we are transforming the way you experience change. Have you ever experienced an organizational change where your employees pushed back because it was too much, too fast, or they just didn't understand why they couldn't do things the way they've always done them? What about where communication was non-existent or unorganized, with important updates getting lost in the shuffle, leaving people confused? And have you ever experienced change where morale was at an all-time low because the change felt overwhelming and not aligned with your organization's culture? If you are being asked to lead an important organizational change, especially if you're new to leading change, or if you're just feeling overwhelmed, the Delta Principle is here to support you. We work closely with you as a trusted partner, co-creating real-world solutions to address your unique challenges, and we equip you and your organization for future success. Are you gearing up for your next transformation journey or exploring ways to strengthen your change management skills? Then let's connect. This year, we're thrilled to introduce Leading Change, a training designed for leaders driving organizational initiatives, and Navigating Change, a training tailored to empower teams and adapting to change with confidence. Our coaching and training sessions are fully customizable to meet your organization's unique needs. Reach out today to see how we can partner with you to make your next change a success. You can find us on LinkedIn or by emailing us at info@thedeltaprinciple.com.
Curious, Sabina, in your research and just, with just the vast amount of experience that you've had, there's been a shift around the idea of the hierarchical approach to leadership and management and this idea of flattening the organization. And I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are around that because I've got my own mixed opinions about that because I grew up in that hierarchy. And so I kind of appreciate the chain of command and I do think there's a role for leaders, but I do think there's an attitude that's maybe coming into the workplace. It's almost like, well, what do we need leaders for anyway? Because we can just flatten the organization, and I guess we're all going to just work symbiotically or something. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that, and how does that play into with some of the coaching that you do with your leaders?
One of the hardest challenges people face often is not working up and down, managing
Mhm.
up, managing down, but working sideways when you have leadership without authority. And I don't think we can completely do away with management for some of the reasons that you're talking about in terms of setting goals, creating the container in which the content is put in, and so on. At the same time, it certainly is shifting in terms of the span of control and the number
Mhm.
of people you manage. So it is a more flattened organization. Mm, Philosophically, the shift that's happening, I believe, is moving more from positional to people. Also, if you think
I
about
like that.
younger generations, they did not grow up in that hierarchy
They did
system,
not. Yeah.
and they're not interested in that.
Mhm.
And many of them are actually not interested in being managers either. There's this great
Very true.
unbossing that is happening
Yeah.
from younger generations. So this is a time for those who have more experience as managers to really reduce that power gap and talk about how do we do this more people based versus more positional based.
Yeah.
This will first of all also reduce the pressure that you have, that you're facing as a manager. Let's be honest, in today's world, given not one, but a dozen really hairy, unprecedented, polarized, scary challenges that we're facing,
Right.
can we say any one person has dominion over the answers, the truth, the path
That's
forward?
true. Yeah.
No.
That is
If you
very
do it
true.
yourself, you're stunk.
Yeah.
You really have to talk to a wide variety of constituents to understand not necessarily the answer, but even what the next step is. So, how
Right.
do we involve more people to solve things as opposed to taking it all on ourselves? That reduces the burden on us.
I like that.
It also helps grow those people and bring them along much more.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm
I,
curious, do you see Cindy, you go ahead. I'm
okay,
dominating the conversation. Can't
no
help it. Go
worries.
ahead.
Uh, I know so many questions, right?
I
So
know.
many questions. So Sabina, I would love to get your take on managing versus leading.
Hmm. Good
We talk
question.
about
Yep.
that a lot. So what in your opinion is the difference?
You may notice in my book, you may not have noticed, but I actually never use the word leader
Yeah.
in all 200 and something pages of the book.
Interesting. And why is that?
Now, I can use the word leading or leadership, but
Mhm.
not leader as a noun, because most often we tend to conflate manager and leader. Now, we all say, oh, anybody can be a leader, but as managers, we tend to suck up all of that to ourselves. Then we go, oh, we need to protect our people. We need to buffer them. We need to do this. We need to do that, which can be somewhat paternalistic and somewhat infantilizing of perfectly capable people
Yeah.
and continuing to increase the pressures on us and then causing us to act out in ways that don't have a great impact. So, leadership is something that can be done by anyone, anywhere, at any time. It's not just a manager who who does acts of leadership. So to me, management is the job of mm, managing people, providing them with, as a couple of authors I quote in the book, Heifetz and Linsky say, protection, order, direction. Give them, give them some cover, give them a vision and where we're going, and give them a process by which to navigate that. That's the job of a manager.
Like
Leadership
that.
is not something we're actually often paid to do, because true
True.
leadership requires a lot of courage. People sometimes ask me, well, what's your job? And I say, I'm paid to raise people's heart rates. Paid to raise people's heart rates. Because leadership is not rocket science. You actually know everything there is to know about how to lead. It's just that it takes a whole bunch of courage. And courage
Good
means
point.
your heart is pounding and you're
Oh,
moving forward despite that. So my job is to raise your heart rate, to engage in those acts of courage so you can engage in those acts of leadership.
that is great. That what a great way to reframe that too, because you're right. Sometimes we put these leaders on pedestals, and we think that they know more than everybody else knows. And you're right. In most cases, it's not necessarily. And you find yourself doing that even as an employee sometimes when you'll be listening to leadership, and you're like, "Well, I could have told them that." Well, I said that. Or I was thinking those ideas. And so it's about the courage to step out and to really drive those conversations and to drive those organizational decisions. And so I like that. That's a great way to reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, talk a little bit about some of the early warning signs. You spoke about that a little bit in the questions, like the no pushback, the sole provider trap, and then the overly kind of witty or smart persona. Talk a little bit more about those things and how people can start to make that connection.
Hmm. I'll dig into one of my favorite ones, which is the sole provider trap. It's
Yeah.
a big pressure pitfall, and as human beings, most of us fall into one or more of these four different sole provider traps. What's a sole provider trap? It's this notion, and it starts in a very noble place of taking on stuff or doing
Mm,
a really good job or doing it fast, getting
yeah.
as much done at being productive. What we forget when we think of ourselves as the sole provider of those answers, of those tasks, of those projects, is we are again putting more pressure on ourselves than necessary. So we become the hardest working person on the planet, and we don't grow others.
Yeah.
So imagine if, as a parent, I said, "Well, if I don't if I don't push my child's bicycle, they're going to get hurt,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to have to keep pushing them." And imagine that you're keeping on pushing your child's bicycle
Yeah.
until they're 22 years old.
Right.
That would be kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But we
Absolutely.
tend to do that at work a lot. So, what are these four sole providers? The first is the caretaker, and this women tend to fall into this often, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is this, my team is really busy, so I'll take it on. This is a particularly busy time of year. I don't want to push anybody else. When is it not a particularly busy time of year? I haven't found the
Right.
answer to that
No?
yet. Probably, right? So,
Yeah, so
so
true.
it's this caretaker mode.
Okay.
That's one. And so the first thing you can do when you have these tendencies, again, you were talking about early detection, which is so important. I'm really glad you're asking that question, is notice what you tend to say or do. So caretaker is going to say the kinds of things I just said.
Yeah.
They're going to jump in to help without
Yeah.
having been asked for help.
Good point. Good point. Yes. Yeah.
And
I know
so,
I've struggled with that one. Like,
yeah, because
I have to
sometimes the
remind
employees have.
myself. Yeah.
Yes. And the
Absolutely.
employees sometimes saying, I already had that figured out. You're over explaining it to me, or you're actually cutting off my visibility to your boss because you're jumping in to rescue me. Okay, so
Right.
that's your caretaker.
Okay.
Then you've got the whack-a-mole champ. This is that arcade game where, these moles
Yeah.
pop up and you whack them down as fast as you can with a rubber mallet. And you
Yeah.
feel like you've saved the day and you're riding off into
Mhm.
the sunset. Look how much I got done. Look how many emails I answered at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's your whack-a-mole champ. And their tendency is going to be to jump in and respond to things, mm, to put things on their to-do list that they've already
Mhm.
finished, but just so that they can
Just
cross
so
it
they
off.
could cross it off.
This
Yep.
kind of feeling of, I've got to get credit for everything that I'm doing. and
Sure.
look at how busy I am, how
Right.
busily I have completed so many things. You've got the straight A student. This is somebody who is at a fairly senior level and is debating, should this be an M dash or an N dash? Should this be a semicolon or a colon?
Okay. Yeah.
That is not what you're paid to do.
Right.
Let someone else figure that out. And does it really matter as much as the bigger picture?
Yeah.
So that's your straight A student. And then you have the Flash. The Flash is named after the DC Comics character who moves super fast.
Sure.
And these are the people who talk fast, who walk fast, who listen, guilty, to audiobooks at 1.5 times the speed.
Oh, yeah. I do that.
Yep.
Yeah, you as well, Cindy? Yes. I tell people, look, I'm a Flash. So with my audiobook, if you listen to it at 1.5 times the speed, you won't understand it because I naturally talk fast.
That is true. I actually was listening to your book at that speed, and I had to slow it down because you're right. It was going to, I was like, no, I've got to bring it down to 1.2 because 1.5 is going just too fast. So
Yes,
yeah, no,
yes,
that's such a good point. That's
right,
hilarious.
right. So that's the Flash. And they think it's going to take me less time to do this than to explain it. But of course, then what happens is you're still pushing the bike at 22 years old.
Right.
I had this client of mine, and she had a very big job. She had been promoted and promoted into an even bigger job. She has 4 kids, and so she's got her whole day of work. Then she comes back home, has family time. Then she's like, then I do my real work after the meetings, and then I've got to clean the kitchen and load the dishwasher. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa! Wait a minute. Why do you have to clean the kitchen and load the dishwasher? All your kids are over 10. And she said, well, they don't load the forks just right. Sole
Guilty.
provider, straight A student, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I said, okay, first of all, what would happen if the dishwasher wasn't loaded just right? Or what would happen if you walked into a dirty kitchen the next morning? Who beside you is going to care about it? Maybe over time, somebody else cares about it and they're going to do something with it. And how are you training your kids to adult?
That's a great point.
Right.
Are you
Yeah.
going to go to their homes when they have their own homes and load their dishwasher just right?
I love that. No. Now, I'm curious. So, as I'm listening to some of the stories, I just feel it's all so relatable towards women. I'm curious, how do men kind of fit into this as well? Because their mindset is much different than women's. And so I'm kind of curious, like, what do you find in your work, the difference between the two?
One of the biggest surprises was when I analyzed these 12,000 pages of data, and I analyzed it myself. And then I had somebody who was completely objective, wasn't involved in the process of generating the data to analyze it. I also asked her to use a software program to analyze it. I was surprised that there were not significant differences between men and women.
Interesting.
So isn't that
Oh,
interesting?
yes.
Now, when I say not significant differences, around responses to pressure and power.
Okay.
So regardless of gender, the power gaps that get created, the distance between us and other people that make it difficult to see things clearly or correctly, I did not notice any significant difference between men and women.
Wow. Okay.
Now, there are some subtler differences, like when you triple click. So within the pressure pitfall, in the sole provider, looking at the caretaker, yeah, there are more women who
Yeah.
fall into the caretaker one than
Sure.
men. But in the big picture, zooming out, interestingly, there wasn't as much of a difference.
Oh, that's really
In our,
fascinating.
isn't it fascinating? Yes. And I think in our society, because it's not okay for each gender to talk about certain things certain
Right.
ways,
Yeah.
maybe these things are there, but they don't come out in
Yeah.
certain places.
That's a good
So
point.
that could be a possible thing. But also, does power affect us regardless of gender
That's a
in
valid
certain ways, right?
point.
It creates that
Yeah.
distance
Yeah.
that, oh, you're the boss. So,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
great, boss. You're wonderful. Meanwhile, I'm starting a secret group chat about how horrible you are.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. Well, and we see that right with the emergence of the fish bowls that are out there now under Glassdoor, where that's exactly what has happened, is that they are now forums for people to go and complain about their bosses or their jobs. And
Yep.
I always feel like in those situations, and I know it's hard to do because I'm not always good necessarily at providing really good feedback to my boss, but I do encourage my team to, I really want to hear, like, if I'm not doing a great job, say it to me. Like, just be honest with me, be open, and talk through. But I know that's easier said than done because I don't do it. So I'm not necessarily practicing what I'm preaching,
Right.
or, establishing the same expectations from myself that I have of my team.
Yeah. And Linda, do you get, when you tell that to your team, do you get that? Do you get some feedback?
For the most part, I still think it's a little bit of lip service, like I hear it and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
great, and thank you for stroking my ego. But I'm
Right.
like, no, I'm not doing everything in the best
Right.
possible way. So
Right. So here's what's happening. Two things. Tell me if you notice something. They'll go yes, and they won't say it. Because again, there's a fear of repercussion.
yeah.
The second is, how did I do? Of course, they're going to
Mhm.
say, you did great.
Right.
And then they'll do it on the fishbowl, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so the quality of feedback you get is directly proportional to the quality of the question you ask.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here are a few questions. Make it specific and small. So
Okay.
don't ask for feedback all up. Ask for one thing. What's one thing I did well in that meeting? What's one thing if I did more of or less of would have made that meeting go better?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's
So
great
now it's
advice.
harder to wiggle out of it. It's very
Mhm.
specific and it's small, it's contained because
Uh-huh.
then they don't have to give you a litany of 15 things, which would be hard for you to process too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even that, if you're starting to feel like, oh, they're still kind of squishy with the feedback,
Yeah.
make it third person. If my biggest fan were in the room, what would they have said was the one thing
Oh, I like
that went
that.
well? And if
Yeah.
my biggest critic were in the room, what would they have said is the one thing that needs to be improved?
I
So
like
now
that.
it releases me from that pressure. It's still
Yeah.
one thing, but it's one thing from, of course, I'm not your worst critic, even though I'm doing it anonymously somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, I am not your worst critic. I'm just in service of you, telling you what they might say.
Ah, I like that. Cindy, are you getting some good ideas from change management too? I'm thinking about when you're working with leaders from a change perspective. Those are some really great questions to help get answers that maybe you don't normally get answers to, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You bet.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, I'm just kind of curious, as you think about some of the tools and habits that you would encourage for leaders, what are some things that, because there are some common themes that I'll see when I read out there, but I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, what are you recommending that you do to help with that self-reflection, to create that pause and to move forward? Share with us some of your tips and tricks you have.
The first thing I would encourage people to do is shut up.
Like that.
This is called exercising your shut up muscle. There are 4 steps to do that, and you're the boss. Here's the first step is be the third or fourth person to speak, not the first. It has so many benefits that tie exactly to the question you're asking, Linda.
Yeah,
When I shut up, first of all, it allows other space. If you're the only one bringing up ideas, if you shut up, others will bring up ideas.
that's true.
Mm, For example, the other piece is that when I stop talking, it frees me up to listen more, to sense more, to see the things that are not overtly being said. Oh, this person hasn't spoken. This person always speaks, but only on the heels of this other person. That person tends to make these sort of has this sort of sniggery smile at the end
Yeah,
of every comment. What's going on there? So I don't notice these things if I'm the only one with the microphone.
right.
When I shut up, I can sense a lot more. So it's
That
not just sensing things for yourself. As a manager, your job is to sense the room.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Yeah. No, I love that. I like that idea of that shut up muscle because I know that's something that is hard to do sometimes, right? Is to
So
just
hard.
stop talking and
Well, and for good
observe.
reason,
Yeah.
right? For good reason, because you didn't get where you are by being a total slouch or by being wrong or by failing a lot.
Yeah.
So you do have the answers. You've been there, done that. You want to jump in and say, no, don't do that. Now, hold on. Be the third or fourth. Maybe they will discover that themselves. Or then ask a question. What do you think are the upsides and downsides of this?
Yeah.
And then you can still prevent them if it's a train wreck happening, but let's see if you can get them to arrive at that instead of you.
Yeah, I like that. No, that's a great way to do problem solving for sure. So, yeah, this is good. I love this. So remind everyone, where can they find your book?
Anywhere books are sold. And when you get a copy of the book, if you go to my website, sabinanawaz.com, you can sign up for my Substack, but you can also download a number of free resources, so worksheets, templates, scripts, tools that are referenced in the book to make it your own.
Wonderful. We'll make sure that we put that in the show notes as well. And if people want to get a hold of you, Sabina, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
It's also through the website, sabinanawaz.com.
Wonderful. No, that is so great. We have absolutely loved having you on the show today, and such great advice. It's always fun to read just the different perspectives on leadership. But you brought a fresh perspective and one that I hadn't. I've read a lot of leadership books over the years, and I thought you brought a really fresh perspective to thinking about, being the person you want others to want to be with. So I think it's really
Wow.
great. Yeah.
Thank you,
No.
Cindy. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Well, everyone, thank you, Cindy. Thank you. It's always great to be in the
To
studio
Linda.
with you, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next time. Of course, like and subscribe and follow. And if you have any comments, we'd love to hear back from you. And you can check us out on all the major streaming services out there. So thanks to all of our listeners, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the HR Her Resources podcast. We're so happy to have you with us on this journey. Music and production by Logan Misigatis of LJM Productions. We'd also like to thank our intern, Lauren Banas, for creating our logo and supporting our social media postings. If you'd like to connect with Logan or Lauren, you can find their information in the show notes. If you found value in our discussion and think someone else might as well, please follow, subscribe to our LinkedIn, and share with a friend. Until our next episode, please take care and continue to support one another.